Hello, everybody. This is Wednesday, the first Wednesday in August, so I'm very pleased, as always, when it's the first Wednesday, to welcome my dear good friend and excellent public servant, Lou D'Alessandro. His campaign signs are up again as he runs for, what term will this be in the Senate?
This will be my 12th term in the Senate.
And many other elective offices leading up to that. 12 terms of Senate, the Dean of the Senate, Senate Finance Chair. He's ready to go ahead and again served the people of his district, the people of the city of Manchester, and all the people of the state of New Hampshire, which he does with a lot of goodwill and good effort and good insights. So, Lou, I'm sure you're going to win again, and
let's hope so.
And carry on, because it's your service is so important.
Well, thank you. We've got to get the vote out, and that's going to be something maybe we'll talk about towards the end of the show.
Maybe we can do that.
Yeah, what the situation is regarding the vote, but indeed the hospitality industry,
Yep.
which is the lifeblood of this state, second largest revenue producer in this state. I look at Meals and Rooms every day, and I look at the what it was and where we are and how it has an enormous effect on the communities because of the fact that a lot of that money goes back to the communities. But you're a restaurateur, that hospitality industry, again, without question, the lifeblood. Listen, I had Alex Ray as a student when he was in the 9th grade. So
he's had everybody as a student. I don't know how you missed this.
How did you miss me? But I talked to Alex, and I've spoken with you on a number of occasions, and you came before the Gopher Committee, and you have nothing but my empathy. I try to eat. My wife and I try to eat out at the restaurants, as best we can, because we have to support them.
Yeah.
And we've been at your place a couple of times. As I said, we spent my birthday at the Comprador, and the outside was full. The inside was, they were spaced. I think the bars are. It's a good place to go at the Comprador. I'll tell you that. There's a lot of activity there. But my goodness gracious, you guys were soaring, and now it's. Now it's a terrible thing. So if you could tell us,
Well, first, if I could, Lou, I'd like.
Please, sure.
And I do this with our guests, Tom. Let you introduce yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, we know you're one of the premier entrepreneurs and in the hospitality industry, along with Alex Ray, the other name that Lou mentioned. Tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got to choose this as a career, and how it's gone for you, and ending up with you're building a brand new standalone restaurant there at 12S in Concord, just in time to meet the coronavirus head on. So give us a little bit about yourself, if you'd be willing to.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for the kind words, Lou. I appreciate it. Like a lot of people in this industry, you didn't plan on it. It's an industry that grabs you and bites you like a bug, and you just love it. And that's what happened to me. I graduated 1987 from Merrimack College with a degree in chemistry, which is
should have been a doctor.
And I actually had a full scholarship to get my master's at Villanova. I went for a semester and did some soul searching and realized this is not for me. I went back home, had to tell my dad I was giving up a full scholarship, and started waiting tables at T-Bones in Hudson. At the time, there was only Salem and Hudson T-Bones, and just fell in love with it and worked my way up through the company. In 1995, opened CJ's in Manchester with the founders of T-Bones. Since then, the two of the three original founders retired. My partner Mark and I bought them out in 2008. And since then, we've opened Comprador Bedford, Comprador Salem, and soon to be T-Bones Concord.
Concord, right.
And I'm the CEO of the company and have been since 2004. Oof. And to your point, Lou, it's been just surreal. I was sharing the story before we got on air that I remember calling my partner Mark on Friday, March 14th, and telling him, "Geez, Mark, this coronavirus thing is affecting our sales. I all of a sudden we just dipped 20%, And I said, we need a plan for a 20% down in revenue. I would kill to be down 20%.
I was going to
in
say
revenue.
20% doesn't sound too
Wow.
bad compared to what you're facing now.
Right.
So we called an emergency meeting on that Monday and got a call actually from the governor and said, I'm about to go on and shut all the restaurants down at midnight.
Yeah.
And I literally just tore up the agenda and said, okay, we need a new plan.
Right.
And I was scared to death for the better part of 2 weeks, being down. We were down 80% for 2 weeks. We were just gushing money. I mean,
Right.
and
This is when you were doing takeout only?
takeout
probably?
only. Yep. We didn't even have curbside at that point. We didn't have online ordering at that point, and we scrambled. I had to lay off 600 employees out of 700.
Wow.
Had to do it via our private Facebook page.
600 out of 700?
Yeah.
Wow.
So we kept on our managers and all of our corporate team because you got to keep the business running.
Sure.
You know, and it was risky. I mean, quite frankly, it was risky. That's why a lot of restaurants chose to just shut down completely because they wouldn't have any labor costs, food, and we made the courageous decision, I might say, to stay open, to keep our brand relevant, to keep us in people's minds, even though we were losing money, not knowing what was coming. And when PPP came through, we thought, thank God,
Right.
we've got 8 weeks of funding. We'll be out of this,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
In June.
You were an optimist.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
we took the loans. We spent them as they were intended.
And now they're forgiven?
Okay.
Yeah.
No, they're not forgiven yet. And and nobody, not one single business in this country, is able to have the loans forgiven yet because the language has not come out yet.
Well,
And Lou, we were talking about Senator
yeah.
Shaheen.
Right.
She's been an incredible advocate
Yes.
for us. She was one of the four that helped create that bill in the Senate, and she's incredibly frustrated that
Right.
banks still don't have and businesses still don't have guidance
Right.
on how these loans are going to be forgiven. She's just and she's frustrated, and she's been again amazing, empathetic, listening servant to the state of New Hampshire. And I just met with her last Friday, and she's just completely frustrated, as we are.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
it's incredibly difficult not knowing
Yeah.
what's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, I think you're absolutely right, and this is one of the problems. They gave us $1.25 billion with very little in the way of an explanation. And indeed, I'm on the Gopher committee, and you've come before our committee and put in a pitch for dollars as others have. But there is a lot of ambivalence about how you can get that money out the door, and now there's skepticism about whether you can retain that money and use it to backfill your budget deficits in the states, which I think would be an incredibly bad thing, to be honest with you. That money's needed for the people who are in business. That's where the money is needed.
Yeah.
And indeed, if they come back, revenues will improve because you'll be doing business and we'll be making money. Again, we haven't got very clear direction from the federal government.
That's on the Main Street Relief Fund.
Right, sure. And basically, the key question is what you don't spend going to be used to backfill your revenue declines? And if that's the case, you're going to be very skeptical about how to move the money out the door.
Yeah.
Because of that problem.
Sure.
But, let me say something about your restaurant, because I think people ought to know this. We're old, Bob, my wife and I.
I'm aware of that. Every day I walk the dog, and both of us are walking a lot more slowly.
And we go to T-Bones in Bedford. And let me just say, the service is magnificent. The prices are perfect, and you give us those little cards, and we earn rewards.
Yes.
And I just can't believe it. It is without question one of the best bargains going. And as I say, we go to a lot of us, but that one, brother, it's terrific. And I mean, you're to be complimented. I know that a lot of older people go there.
They do.
They certainly do.
And quite frankly, T-Bones is, as you say, it skews an older clientele. It skews families.
Yes.
So our T-Bones concepts, and I know Alex Ray very well. I'm
Yep.
sure he's in the same boat. Sales they're not as strong
Right.
compared to say Copper Door, younger demographic,
Right, sure.
a little more affluent.
Right.
But let me make a comment about the Main Street Relief Fund because,
Yes. Sure.
and I'm not speaking on behalf of Alex at all, but he and I fall into the same boat. We didn't qualify for one dime of the Main Street Relief Fund, of that 1.25 billion
Right.
that the federal government gave to the state of New Hampshire.
Right.
Do you know why? Because our revenues are over 20 million as a collective restaurant group,
Right.
as is the common man. Now, the conversations that I've had is, well, why are we treated at the federal level individually taxed as individual business by the IRS? Because each one of our entities is an LLC or an S corp owned by
Right.
different ownership, and so we're taxed individually. But in this case,
They aggregate
we're
it.
clumped together,
Right.
so we didn't get a penny. So someone that's I'm not going to name a restaurant, but a fairly high competitor of us received several $100,000 of relief from the state, and we got zero.
Yeah.
And it's just unfortunate, this whole process. And there's no right answer, but it's really difficult for legislators
Yeah.
because they're picking winners and losers, and it's been really difficult.
This is just like the story we hear from our hospitals here in the Elliott, the CNC, and
Right.
Yes.
Southern down in Nashua.
Yep.
They didn't get any of the money because their revenues were above. The money went
Yep.
to the more smaller hospitals
Right.
with more dire,
Right. The
less
rural-
financial
rural.
capability. And they're really hurting. It's the same story here, I guess.
And Lou, to your point, the meals and rentals tax, if you add up, I don't mind naming the restaurant groups, you add up 110 Grill, Great New Hampshire Restaurants, T-Bones, Copper Door, Common Man, Fratello's, Homestead, Margaritas, you add all those major players up, we're a major contributor to
Oh,
the
no,
meals
that-
and rentals to the state,
There's no
and
question.
we got zero.
Right. No
And,
question. Well, again, the ambivalence of the bill, they ran it through quickly. Sometimes you don't give a great deal of thought to the minute details that make these things work so well. We've run into that across the board. I get calls every day from people who were left out. Why were we left out? Well, this and this and this and this. We don't know. And that's not the reason the money was given to us. The money was given to us to help people in need. And if you could justify the need, you should get the money. I think we've got to work on that. We've got to work on that. We have $429,737,000 left in the fund
Is that
as of
right?
today.
Wow.
That's what's left in the fund. There are people who were given money that won't spend it. Some of that money will be returned. For example, $50 million has been set aside for broadband. You can't spend $50 million on broadband
Right.
in 60 days.
Right.
So that money's got to come back.
Is that
and-
the time, the 60 days? to
It's
spend?
got to be done by the 30th of December. All that money's got to be spent.
Got it.
So the areas that need it most desperately, you can't overlook them. Now, I said I know Alex. I had Alex as a student when he was in the ninth grade.
He must have been an amazing
Oh,
student.
he was an amazing student at Kennett High School in Conway, New Hampshire. It was my first year teaching, and I had the likes of Gene Chandler and Alex Ray and Norman Head in class. I had Alicia Hawks, Alicia Mulkern, the Shenandoah in Jackson, which is a wonderful, family-owned restaurant. Was up there a couple of weeks ago for another occasion. But I mean, I've known these people for 50 years, and known the struggle that they were, and no one struggled more than Alex. I mean, he has struggled, and just made a wonderful life. And we have to take care of those. I mean, New Hampshire has an obligation to take care of those people. We have an obligation, and we do have the capability of doing it. I mean, we have the money, and we have federal people who are willing to work with us, like Jeannie Shaheen and like Hassan from Senator Hassan from our state, and we've got to do it.
I will say that one of the things that Senator Shaheen has been so great at, and I've personally talked, my partner Bill and I have personally talked with not only Senator Shaheen but Senator Rubio, Senator Collins, it's Senator Graham. It's been fascinating to me to see how accessible these federal legislators have been to individuals like us, literally listening to us more than the trade associations, because they want to hear real numbers, not anecdotal. They want to hear real stories.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's been fascinating how responsive they've been.
Yeah. Well, so let's go back. You started out that this thing hit you awful hard.
Yeah.
600 out of 700 employees were furloughed by you on a mass. What'd you say, Facebook or whatever you did?
Yeah, well, private Facebook page on St. Patrick's Day at 9:23 at night. I'll never forget it.
Yeah, I bet you won't. And where are you now? I mean, are you able to?
Yeah, so
you've done a lot of things.
Right.
What's worked and what didn't work? You couldn't get along with just takeout.
No.
You found out that was not going to cut it.
Nope. And that was literally just to keep our managers and our office teams employed. So at the time, all the employees were able to collect unemployment, 600, and then when we were able to open outdoor dining, when we got the PPP funding from the federal government, we used the money, as I said, as intended. We literally paid every single employee, full-time employee, either to come back to work and help with takeout, or they stayed home, and it was their choice. So we kept them employed for those 8 weeks. We ran out of that money the first week of June. And fortunately, we were allowed to have outdoor dining only. And fortunately, the governor allowed us to have tents. Now again, I feel badly for all the restaurants downtown here. They don't have giant parking lots like we do. Right. We pay for that with rent, but nonetheless, we were able to double, triple, and sometimes quadruple our outdoor dining as a result of that. So our sales went from down 80% for the first, from March 17th to the when we were down all the way until the middle of May. But again, we had that PPP funding, which helped us survive. Without that, I'm telling you,
you'd be done.
Done. A 35-year, very reputable restaurant group, done.
Yeah.
And I'm also telling you, we're facing that again when it gets cold.
Yes.
We're going to lose all that outdoor dining. And so I got off track. But when we got the outdoor dining open, we hired back about half full-time. And then since we've had indoor dining since June, the timing is just like blazing through your head. Right? June, I think it was June 7th, middle of June, we've had indoor dining. And we've hired back all the employees, part-time, full-time, with the exception of about 25 that either they're taking care of someone who's immune compromised, or they have their own immune compromised system. So we're very fortunate our employees came back to work.
Did any of your employees choose not to return because they were doing better with the 600 plus unemployment?
No.
Not
and I'm very proud of that.
I'm
very proud of that.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Well, that's been a complaint, as you know.
No doubt.
And not so much in your industry, but the person who runs the gas station on the corner where I buy my gas, his mechanics wouldn't come back.
Yep.
So his bays are empty. Yeah. And he said to me, they won't come back.
I have restaurant colleagues all across the country. I was on the board of directors for the National Restaurant Association for 15 years, and I've got friends stretching from San Francisco to Orlando to Chicago, and I talk with them frequently. We do a monthly call, bi-monthly now, just to keep up to date. And about half of them, even if they could open 100%, they said, I can't get my employees to come back.
Right.
Now, the 600's gone.
At least for the moment.
Right, for the moment, right.
It may come back in some figure.
We'll see.
It looks
We'll
that
see
way.
what happens.
Yeah.
But I really hope Congress figures this out in the next. They got to figure it out by September.
Oh,
They
for
gotta.
sure.
I mean, you draw a latitude line from Washington D.C. straight across the country. Every single restaurant north of that, or any outdoor entertainment
Right.
facility, they got nothing.
Right.
They got nothing.
Yeah.
You know, right now our revenue outdoor is about. It was in June, and through the early part of July, it was about 25% of our total revenue, which I was encouraged by. I'm thinking, okay,
Yeah.
not bad. It's now almost 40% of our revenue, and that's pretty indicative across the country.
That's the outside dining.
Outside,
Yeah.
so that the consumer confidence has gone like this because of the spikes around the country.
Yeah.
I think people in New Hampshire need to stop listening to what's happening
Right.
around the country.
Right.
Pay attention to the numbers here in New Hampshire.
Right.
We're doing outstanding.
Yeah.
I think the governor has done a terrific job
Yeah.
keeping us locked down. Lockdown is not the right word, but prudent in opening business slowly. You know, I just was listening to the mayor of Atlanta talking, and Atlanta's just, it's terrible right now.
Right.
I have a friend of mine who owns three full-service restaurants similar to Copper Door in Atlanta. He's been open for indoor dining since early May. He's still down 80%. He's just he's not going to make it. And this is a guy. He's probably your age, Lou. I'm not
Yeah.
even kidding. He's been doing this for 45 years.
Yeah. Well,
And it's just heartbreaking. It's just
it is.
heartbraking.
yeah,
And how about your customers? Are they coming back? Or, I mean, you know,
Yeah, I mean-
I would love to come out and dine at your place because
Sure.
I've always
Yeah.
enjoyed your restaurants. I usually patronize CJ's, but, you know, your restaurants are all terrific. I
Yeah.
absolutely agree with Lou, but I can't get my wife to
dine in.
You know,
Yeah.
she's not ready to do it.
Yeah.
And,
And-
I don't know
and-
how many people have that, so, you know.
It's just like, you know, I tried to teach my kids life is a bell curve, right? It's like this. You got people way over on this side. I don't care what topic you're talking about. I don't care if it's
yeah.
COVID-19, masks, any social issue. You got people that are really loud over here. That is a really small amount of people. And you got people over here, same thing. The majority of people are up here at the top of that bell curve. And so the majority, they feel comfortable enough to go back out and dine. But as I mentioned, there has been a pullback because of, I'm going to just, I mean, we're on media right now,
Right,
but
sure.
I'm going to say it. It's the media is just, they love the eyeballs. They love the ears. They love just creating, I think, more than what's really necessary. And it's scaring people.
It certainly is.
You know, and I'm not advocating for people to just go out and go hog wild and
Right.
and go back out and not wear masks. I'm not advocating that at all. But there is a way to conduct yourself and
Sure.
your business in a very safe manner, which I'm proud to say T-Bones, CJ's, and Copper Door have done a very good job with it, and we will continue to do that.
So how are you feeling? I mean, it's really struck me that as I drive up 93 to Concord, which I used to do a lot more than we are these days. I'm meeting at the UNH hockey rink the last two sessions.
Jeez.
Yeesh, imagine that. And I look over and I see your restaurant coming along. This is your second standalone building you've built to be a restaurant.
Third, actually. Copper Door, Bedford. Oh, nope, you're right. Nope, Copper Door, Bedford was the first. Copper Door, Salem was the second, and then
This
T-Bones
is the
and
third.
Concord. Yes.
And, you know, here you say you're going to have this ready to open in September?
It's been ready since mid-May.
Really?
We were supposed to open early May.
Yeah.
We got delayed because the booth manufacturer out of Atlanta, Georgia,
Wow.
shut down. And to Lou's point, they couldn't get their employees to come back to work.
Yeah.
So they couldn't make our booths. And they finally just arrived 2 weeks ago. So we're ready to go, but we need some ramp-up time to hire. We need to hire about 100 employees. We have about 35 already hired that are working in the various locations right now, plus existing employees that we're going to transfer. So yeah, we're going to open mid-September. It's an absolutely beautiful building. I drove by it for the first time the other night at night, and it just pops from the road.
Oh, it does.
It's a great location.
I tell people they're not building land at exits on 93.
Right.
You
That's
can't
true.
you can't get that type of situation. Steve Dupree, who owns the Hilton True, he's opening same time frame as we are, a couple weeks earlier.
Yeah.
So we think the coordination between the two is going to be really great. And
So you're pretty optimistic that this is going to
Yeah,
work. I mean, it must have hit you like a ton of bricks. Here I've committed major resources to this, and now I'm struggling to keep my existing places,
and that's
busy enough.
that's I'm not worried about Concord. I'm really not. It's a fantastic location. There's a lot of pent up demand. We've had people just calling, literally daily, emailing. When are you opening? When are you opening? They're gonna do terrific. It's our largest seated restaurant at 305 seats when you include the outdoor dining. So it's even at 50% capacity, we'll have a good amount of seating.
Sure.
So I do have to give one shout out to, you talk about the financial commitment, so we've got our normal partners that are within the T-Bones group and then some family members. But of course we had to finance a fair amount of that with a bank.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so grateful to Primary Bank out of Bedford. Really great small local bank. They've been so unbelievably helpful in saying, we understand the situation. You're gonna get open when you get open, and we're gonna work with you.
Yeah.
As opposed to a major national player, they'd be like,
See you later.
"Give me the money."
Yeah.
So that's the beautiful part about living and doing business in New Hampshire.
Right.
You know people, and they work with you.
Yeah. I think that's such an important point. We've lost so many of our local banks. They've been eaten up. And now we have TD and Bank America and Citizens and Primary. They created Primary, and I think it's a local lender, and that's so important. I was years ago. Now I was on the board of the Federal Home Loan Bank of Boston. I was vice chairman of the board of directors there, and saw how things worked. And just to be honest with you, I saw how some bankers could be tough guys and just not pay a great deal of attention to the people they were serving, but the dividend was the most significant thing for them. And then you come to New Hampshire and you meet some local bankers, and I was chairman of my credit union members first, and we were allowed to go into the lending business. They allowed credit unions to do that, and I was really hoping that we would do so much more for local businesses and get that local spirit organized and going again. That's to me that's so important. I mean, that's the culture of New Hampshire, but really it used to be the culture of America, where we had relationships, we had friendships, the handshake was so important.
And I think that's going to come back if there's anything good out of this pandemic, I think that's going to come back incredibly strong for New Hampshire, because that's a culture that has existed before all this happened. I'll mention my great friend Joe Riley, who formerly owned Centrix Bank. When we bought out my former partners, the ones that we retired, we had applied to, TD America.
Right,
I'm not going to name all the big banks, but no. Centrix, yes. You know why? Because he knew T-Bones, he knew me, he knew our culture, he knew our company. It wasn't just him, but local people that just know who we are and had that understanding of how solid of a company we are, and knew that they were taking risk, but not. They weren't just looking at numbers; they were looking at people, and that's the difference. When you're dealing with small business here in New Hampshire, that's the lifeblood of this state.
No question. The character loan, which existed for years and years and years, disappeared when we had the dilemma in the bank. And the character loan should be coming back, because it's a vital ingredient in the process. And so much needed at this point in time. And remember, I'm getting, I guess, tired of this cliche, but we are all in this together, you know. And
It's time we acted like it too.
right, it is time like we acted like it. And I agree with you that Governor Sununu really has done a good job. I can't. Knock
I wouldn't
him.
want to be a governor of any state in
No,
this country right
I wouldn't.
now.
I wouldn't.
Well,
want to be the
except they're
governor.
all doing very well politically as a result of all the
well,
earned media they're
well,
getting, including governors.
Ooh, earned media.
There's an
Oh, my
upside
God.
for them here,
There is.
especially in a state like New Hampshire. We
Yeah.
elect everybody every 2 years. We're one of,
Right.
I think, 2 states that elects the governor for a 2-year
Right.
term.
But
So-
I think he's done a good job. And of course, I must say this, Dr. Chen.
Yeah.
He's become a celebrity. He's a star. I'd have him at the restaurant. Really, he will draw him in. That guy is he's on the tube as much as the governor.
Yeah.
And
Well, so's Fauci.
right.
I mean,
Oh,
it's just-
my poor friend Dr. Fauci. Oh God! Remember that when Dukakis was governor of Massachusetts, and they had that terrible snowstorm.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And he made his mark with the
sweater.
with the sweater,
Yes.
Yeah.
and out there. And
Yeah,
you
he
know,
certainly did.
You know, sometimes.
Well,
those
you know,
things
and then
happen.
Governor Lynch did the same thing with the Mother's Day flood, whatever
Oh,
that was. And
absolutely.
Out
Yeah.
there, you know,
Yeah.
pictures of him on Channel
Right.
9 all the time as
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
washed out culvert and
Right.
thing.
Right.
This is an opportunity for elected officials, executives particularly.
And we got to take advantage of that opportunity and make things right. And,
So, Tom, I'd like you to. You've told us about your restaurants, which are excellent, I must say. I certainly agree with Lou. I've had nothing but great experiences at your place. Really, really great. I did get a meal once that it was undercooked. And I've had a lot of meals there. This is the only time it happened. And I was taken care of like you wouldn't believe. They immediately recognized that this
that's
was an
what they're supposed to
embarrassment. They gave me a gift certificate.
You know, I tell our managers, you know, we used to serve, we're pretty close to it still now, but we serve 2 million people a year.
Yeah.
2 million.
well,
I said, if we're 99% good,
yeah.
so take 1% of 2 million, we're still going to roughly serve about 10 parties a day, company wide, where we're not going to be perfect.
Right.
You know, it's
does
hard to be
happen.
100%, right?
But it happens very rarely. I mean, it's
Yeah.
only in
And so
many
our-
years of dining at
and
your
our-
restaurants. It only happened once, and it was remedied immediately
That's
and
great,
well.
and that's what we, you know, what
This
we,
was years ago,
What
by
we
the way.
say is, you know, look, it's going to happen.
Sure.
We're not perfect, right?
Yeah.
And nobody's perfect. I said, but just make sure you fix their meal, and in addition to that, you give them a gift card to come back another time.
Yep. Worked for me.
Yeah.
And I've enjoyed your restaurants ever since a lot. But I wanted to ask you to take a little look beyond your own excellent operation at Great American Restaurants and tell us a little bit about what you think this thing is going to do to the hospitality industry more generally in the state of New Hampshire. I mean, New Hampshire, Manchester, New Hampshire, when I was growing up, and I came from Goffstown, which part of Lou's constituency now, you know, there was no restaurant scene in New Hampshire then. There was the Puritan, which was downtown, not on the Hooksett Highway, and that was about it. And you know, now it's become a foodie town, and all up and down Elm Street we've had some really fantastic restaurants. You know, farm to table and niche restaurants of this and that. And give me, what's the prognosis? Is this going to come back, and how is the industry going to change as a result of this? Do you think?
It's going to change. It's not. If you had asked me this 3 months ago, I would have said, there's going to be a few places that close. But here we are, August 5th, with no sight of ending anytime soon. Even if we, so our Laconia location is under the 100% occupancy. Except we still need to keep tables 6 feet apart.
Right.
Now, again, we're fortunate. We've got big restaurants.
Yeah.
We actually have always had our tables spaced really far apart. But you look at a lot of the restaurants downtown here.
Right.
I mean, look what happened with I can't think of the name. They just combined their restaurants.
I think I know what you're thinking of. I can't think of it either.
Republic.
Yeah, Republic.
So
Yes,
Republic.
right.
I mean, their statement online. I'm not sharing
Right.
out a
No, yeah, I
story,
heard
but
about it today.
their
downtown.
tables were very closely spaced together.
Well, they have a narrow
and
small
there's,
place.
And there's a lot of restaurants downtown that are like that.
Yeah.
And they don't have the ability to space out
Right.
6 feet. So if they normally have 30 tables, they might only get down to 10. You can't make money at 10 tables. Or a bar that normally seats 15, now you can seat 6.
Yeah.
So the short answer is it's not going to be good. Every article that I've read, not just here in New Hampshire but nationwide, I've seen anywhere from 33% to 50% of independents will disappear in this country.
Yeah.
And even the chains, I will say, the chains like Outback in Bedford closed,
Yes.
which a lot of
Yeah.
people were surprised at.
Yeah.
Very much so.
But quite
yeah.
frankly, a lot of the chains, so if they have 500 or 1,000 locations, not all of them are performing stores. And it's a bad look under normal times to close stores because they're underperforming. So they just keep them open and lose money here and make money here. But the aggregate is we're making money. Well, what better time to close underperforming stores and point the finger at COVID?
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Starbucks is closing stores. McDonald's is closing stores. And they're smartly seizing an opportunity to close restaurants and being able to say it's because of COVID, when in fact they were always underperforming beforehand. And the independents, we're an independent, even though people think us as a chain. Chains, in my opinion, are publicly traded companies.
Multi-state.
We're multi-state.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah.
we're privately owned, and most independents, they don't have cash reserves to last more than a month of expenses, and you either close and just pay your rent, maybe you pay your insurance, maybe, and what a lot of people don't realize is that you have to, when you're leasing your property, that property owner that leases your restaurant to you may have debt
Yeah, right.
that they have to pay.
Probably does.
So
yeah.
without rent coming in from the
Right.
leasee,
Yeah.
they can't pay their loan. So in the 3 of our locations, we lease, and our landlords have been incredibly cooperative. I think, what are they going to do
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
if we leave one of those properties? Who's going to fill that? Nobody.
Right.
Who's going to fill the British Beer Company on South Willow Street?
Yeah.
Nobody.
Right.
Who's going to open a restaurant right now?
Yeah.
Right.
So the landlords they're in a tough spot too, real
Oh,
tough
sure.
spot. If
Yeah,
they're
you
leveraged,
gotta
if they're
remember that,
leveraged.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So if there's this big shakeout in the hospitality industry, and you certainly make a case that it seems inevitable, and particularly when you can't do the outdoor seating in the fall when it gets cold, which I guess is a major concern. But somebody with your capabilities and your financial, resources can probably ride this out a lot longer than people like, the people that have the narrow restaurants downtown, as you were mentioning, like Republic. Is that helpful to you, or is it?
Yeah, I mean,
or is it not? I mean,
unfortunately, yes. This is an environment where the strong are going to survive and come out the other side, hopefully thriving. I hope we're part of that. I do feel terribly for the independents. I mean, I know a lot of guys. I'm not
they
going to
work
name
their
names.
tails off.
I know a lot of guys that are downtown here, and some of them are single, just operators that I have a team. I've got a tremendous team that I've been able to lean on and share ideas and just really get at it after every day. And some of these guys are like, I don't know what to do. I mean, I've had them, they called me like, what are you guys doing? What are you doing with this? What are you doing with that? And I give them the ones that I really like. I give them the advice that I think would be helpful to them. And it's not going to be pretty. And I think I was mentioning this to you earlier and to the mayor, that some of these storefronts that start to go dark.
It's kind of a downer effect on everybody, doesn't it?
It is. When you start seeing for lease or for sale and
Right.
with the homeless situation and
Oh.
people looking in the winter for a warm place to stay,
Yeah.
it's not a good situation. It's just not.
So what have you done that you think has worked best, and what do you got planned to assuming this virus is going to be with us for a long time, and Dr. Fauci says it is.
Well,
that great compatriot of yours, Lou, Dr. Fauci.
Hey, by the way, 1962 graduate of the College of the Holy Cross. By
Yes,
the way, Fauci.
yes.
So he was well educated.
He was well educated.
Is that
yeah.
your alma mater?
No.
Oh,
But-
we have a phone call, Lou. Let's see who we got. That's
Okay,
a good
which
time.
one?
Yeah, but just that one.
You're on.
Hi there, caller. You're welcome to the Progress Report.
Hello.
Glad to
Yep.
have you join us. Have you got a question or a comment for us or our guest?
Do we have you?
Hello.
Did he leave us? See, you drew a customer, but we lost him.
Oh,
Lost them.
We lost him.
lost him. Maybe he'll call back. Yeah.
Yeah, so let me tell you one thing that we did that we're operating right now.
He's back. He's back.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Incoming. Hello. Can he hear us without this?
Hey, caller. Can you hear us?
He's
Don't-
saying don't touch it.
Okay.
Hello. Hey, caller. You with us?
What's going on here? Oh boy. Well,
I have
sign
to say,
of-
once
it's a
we
sign
have to
of the
remind ourselves, this is not 60 Minutes.
Yeah, that's okay. This is real live TV.
As my co-host Mike Farley says, it's the most dangerous hour on TV. We used to have 2 phones. Now we're down to 1. I tell you,
no.
we have troubles with Skype. Oh my gosh.
Is that what it is?
Hello. Hey, caller. We're awful sorry we didn't get you on. I don't know what was the problem on our end or your end, but we apologize you didn't get you on. You want to try again? We'll try again to include you in the conversation, which we'd very much like to do.
So let me tell you
go
something
ahead.
that we started. It's called it's a concept called a ghost kitchen.
Oh yes, I read about this.
So it's become very popular in the major cities in the last 2 years prior to the pandemic. Rents in the big cities are extremely expensive. To get a Fifth Avenue restaurant in New York City is incredibly expensive.
Right.
So some of these chefs said, you know what? My food's really good. I'm going to go find some warehouse 2 miles away, and I'm going to build a kitchen, and I'm going to deliver my really great food, either family style or individual. And the economies of it is your rent is significantly cheaper. You have no front of the house labor, no host, no
Right.
server, no manager. You're just cooking great food and delivering it. So we have a commissary here in Manchester. A commissary, for those that don't know, is a central food production facility that we own on Union Street. And again, it's not quite in the inner city, but it's
Right.
it's a low rent district. Let's put it that way.
Right.
And we bought the building 5 years ago. We have a butchering part of the building. We have a baking part of the facility, and then we have a prep part of the facility. It's a 15,000 square foot building, and so our butchers and bakers and prep chefs, they make all this product that we deliver around to all of our restaurants 6 days a week in refrigerated trucks. So we've already had this facility that's making great food, delivering to T-Bone's Copper Door. So when I saw this ghost kitchen idea, I said, you know what? And because of the pandemic, I'm like, this would be a perfect opportunity for us to start creating family-style meal kits to deliver to people's homes. So we started this delivery concept. It's only delivered Thursday, Friday, Saturday to Manchester and Bedford zip codes, and it's called Ding Dong Deliver. DingDongDeliver.com. We have our own little refrigerated van, and you can go and order the noon before you want it delivered. So if you want it delivered on Friday, you got to order it by noon on Thursday. It arrives at your house between 1 p.m. and 5 p.m. in a cold-packed styrofoam cooler, and you don't have to be home. You already paid for it online, and you can get things like you can get lobster rolls. You can get a barbecue backyard griller with ribs and smoked brisket. And I just did a burger pack, and it comes with the burgers and the rolls and corn on the cob and homemade potato chips, butter for the corn, seasoning for the burgers, and it's super simple. And we think that over time, it's actually been going really well. Over time, people that just still aren't comfortable, like your wife, right? You want T-Bone's food? She can order chicken pot pie delivered right to your house between 1 and 5, and you can cook it that night at 5 o'clock, or you can cook it on Saturday, or whatever you might want to do. We also expanded this now so that if you live in...
When you say cook it, all you got to do is heat it up.
Well,
right?
it's both. You can actually either cook it, or you can reheat depending on what you're ordering. Right. So like the lasagna, you would actually cook it in your oven.
I see.
Chicken pot pie, you would cook in your oven. Reheat is like ribs and brisket. It's just a reheat, and baked beans and things like that. I've been like one of the best customers because I don't feel like
this thing is taking off. People are taking advantage of it.
Yes, and so most of the kits feed 4 people, and if it's just you and your wife, it's great leftovers. We actually include a pro tip card that says if you have leftovers, here's what you can do with the leftovers.
Wow.
Yeah, so we're expanding it now to the other location restaurants. So if you live in Derry, you can order to be delivered to Derry 4 to 8 on Thursdays, and if you can drive to Derry T-Bones if you're in Derry, and you can pick up your cooler and bring it home and have fun.
Wow. Creative.
That's very creative.
I mean,
creative.
that's what it's about right now. Is let's figure out how to. So right now it is a profitable model. I track sales and profitability every week. It's about triple the profit of our restaurants. Again, we're not paying for that big fancy sign.
And it won't be driving down your customer revenue from when it gets cold.
Perfect.
It'll probably be more demand for their ghost kitchen when it gets cold, and people won't feel comfortable going out there.
Check it out. It's called dingdongdeliver.com.
Right.
My goodness, yeah.
Well, I have to say that the chicken pot pie is my favorite.
Now you have to order it to get delivered to your home.
You'll tell Pat about this.
Yeah,
She'll appreciate this.
She likes it too. But we get that at T-Bones in Bedford.
Yeah.
That's a great meal, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And I try that around the circuit. But yours is the best.
Thank you.
Yeah,
awesome.
truly.
Thank you.
And I like your lasagna
so,
too.
And so that chicken pot pie is made at our commissary 4 days a week, and then we deliver it around. So that's why it's super consistent because we have the same chef making it in large batches, fresh, and then we're delivering it around.
Wow.
Yeah. So you've talked some about how important the PPP, the Payroll Protection Plan, is to you. Absolutely vital. And you've talked about your problems with, not being eligible for some other forms of support because of your revenues above the, the guidelines for assisting some kinds of businesses in your area. What is the government? What do you now need from the government if you could have your wish list, both federal and state? What would you like to see happen now to help you in the hospitality industry generally?
Let me talk at the federal level first. Another round of PPP called P4 it's vital. If this country does not get another round, you will see so many, not just restaurants.
Right.
You will see so many small businesses just go away.
Right.
And so pick your poison. Do you want, so for the Republicans, especially the purse holders, right? Do you want to see all these small businesses go out of business and then you've got millions more on unemployment? Because that's what's going to happen. Or would you rather not just literally waste the trillions that they just spent, right? They just spent $2 trillion.
Right.
You want to see that just wash down the drain and see all these small businesses go out of business? You just wasted $2 trillion that now is added to our debt.
Yes.
What do we have to lose at this point? You have to keep these small businesses alive,
right,
so that these employees can stay employed,
yes,
or they're going to go on the unemployment dole.
Right, right.
So you're going to spend the money one way or the other.
Right.
Okay, so the PPP, well, it's called P4 because PPPPP.
Right, right.
I don't even know what the acronym stands for anymore.
Yeah, but that fourth.
But it's so if I have my wish list, and again, I've spoken with Senator Shaheen at great length about this, and it's getting close. The way that they're shaping it is, you have to show that your revenue is down by 30%. Again, any industry, over either the first quarter or the second quarter, down by 30%. I have asked to not limit it to just the first quarter or second quarter. Can we just limit it to like 8 weeks? Pick your 8 weeks, because some places were getting crushed from March to April, and some, like us, June, we were doing fine because we had the outdoor dining. But
Yeah.
talk to me in November.
Right.
I'm going to be right back where we were
Right.
that we were in March.
Yeah.
So, and I think some of the legislators are starting to get that it's not just that certain time period. So 30% revenue drop. It's been negotiated back and forth that it was a 50% drop, which that doesn't work. A restaurant that's down 30% is still losing money. The margins in the restaurant industry are 4 to 6%.
Yeah, that's what I understand. Very
It's a
tough
nickel.
business.
For
Yeah.
every dollar that a restaurant takes in, they make a nickel. We're better than that, but most of these independents, they're 4 cents on the dollar.
Right. It's thin.
You lose a little bit of that revenue. And what people don't understand is well, so they're down 30%, then their expenses go down 30%. No.
It doesn't happen that way.
Health insurance stays the same, rent
Right.
stays the same, liability stays the same.
Yeah.
You know, there's a ton of fixed costs that just stay where they are regardless of your revenue drop.
Yeah.
So it's critical to get that number to at least a 30% drop in revenue. The other either or, and again, I've talked with Senator Shaheen about this, and she loved this idea, is states, even broken up by county, that only have a 50% capacity mandated on them.
Uh-huh.
So that would apply to restaurants, hotels, salons, even some retail, gyms.
Right.
So it's not just, it's across many industries. So you would qualify for either one of those. And I again, if they don't start figuring this out, and I'm not pointing fingers at the Republicans, I'm pointing fingers at the hard right, purse holding Republicans that just don't get it.
Yeah.
Like, you guys, you have no idea what's happening in the small business community. They're not listening.
Yeah. What about at the state level? The
So
Gopher
at the
Committee?
state level, so I'm glad you brought that up. The Business Finance Authority has a loan.
The BFA.
I'm sorry, a grant. Excuse me,
Right.
a
Yep.
grant
Right.
that we just applied for yesterday. It was supposed to expire at midnight last night, and Governor Sununu extended it until Friday because of
Yes.
the storm.
Right.
But it's a grant that you can apply for. And because we didn't qualify for Main Street Relief Fund, but we do qualify for this, our Concord T-Bones is going to get a good amount of money to help us get us open. And again, it's a grant. It's a very easy application. I forget the gentleman's name. James
Key Wallace.
Key Wallace.
James Key Wallace.
I just want to give him a shout out because
Good guy.
he was amazingly accessible.
Yeah.
Said, call me until midnight if you have any questions.
Yeah.
He was outstanding. So we applied yesterday, and I expect us to be approved for what we asked for. So I actually was on I'm on the advisory council for CASA, and I just notified them today, just before this show here. I told them about this grant, and they didn't know about it. I said, you got to jump on it. I'm like, you got 48 hours, and you guys would absolutely qualify for this funding.
Yeah.
Because it's for profit and nonprofit.
Right.
So do you have a government relations person, or are you it?
It's me and my partner Bill Greiner. We're a good tag team on
Yeah,
this.
I guess you are, because it's going to be taking up a lot of your time dealing with these
well, you know,
these grants and these loans.
It's interesting
and
you
these
say
payroll
that because
protection.
I joke about it and say, you know, it's been a part-time turning into a full-time job
Right.
for me.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
And I told Matt Mowers, who I'm supporting for Congress, I told him, when you get elected, I'm going to come be your chief of staff.
Well, you'll be prepared.
You're ready to
that's
give
for
up the
sure.
restaurant business
You're prepared.
after all? I don't think
Yeah,
so. I think you
Anybody
still,
want to buy a restaurant group?
I think you must still love it to be in this.
Oh, I love it. Are you kidding me? I mean, I wouldn't trade what I do for the world.
yeah, you gotta love it to pick a business that's this competitive with this low margins
Right.
for profitability.
I mean, I will tell you that, you know, leading up to this, I mean, I still love what I do, but it's been incredibly challenging, and I haven't worked harder or longer in the last 6 months than I have in probably 20 years.
Do you ever get a day off?
Yes, but I'm still on my phone.
Right. Oh, for
You know,
sure.
I mean, this thing, my wife, my wife calls it my binky, and actually, it's been blowing up since I've been here.
Right.
If without this, I wouldn't truly be able to get away.
Yeah. Well, Tom, it's this hour went by real fast.
Real
and
I told you I could fill it.
You,
Right,
you, you
you
absolutely
have,
filled
you
it, and I
have,
think you
right.
could fill another hour with no
Right.
problem. We're awfully glad you came down and
Yeah,
gave us
thank you.
And I
an hour of
appreciate
your
the
business
invite,
schedule
really.
because I really appreciate it.
It feels
I
good
think,
to just talk about
Right.
all
I
this.
think you've
Well, you
added a
gotta-
lot of good information to the folks that watch us, and we do have people watching us, believe it or not, even though we didn't get our one caller today. But I always get comments on the show, so thank you so much.
You're
and
welcome. Thank
best
you.
wishes
Yeah,
to
thanks.
you and
Yeah.
your restaurants and especially your employees, who I'm sure you're doing everything you can, and obviously you are, to take care of them. So that's going to be it for us this week, Lou.
That's
and
it,
you
that's
won't
it.
be here next week, but I
No,
will. And
you
I
will.
expect to have Peter Ramsey, now the Citizen of the Year, to
great.
talk about
Nice.
what's
Great,
happening
right.
with the performing arts here in the city of Manchester in this time of unusual challenges, as we say. And hey, folks, we got an election coming up. Please, everybody, vote. Please vote. Please vote. There's nothing more important than voting this election.
That's for sure.
And again, Tom, thank you so much.
Yeah,
It's been a
thanks,
real
and all
pleasure
the
to have
best.
you here.
Good luck.
both for your business and for your family.
Yes, you
Thank
earned
you.
them. That's no
Right,
problem.
that's for sure.
Okay,
Thanks.
all right.